morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. Let's take a moment, just one moment, to breathe in deeply and let it out slowly. Why? Because calmness begins with awareness. In a world that constantly demands more speed, more results, more reactions, we often forget that stillness is power. We chase peace outside of ourselves, but true peace comes from within. Training your mind to stay calm in every situation is not about being passive or indifferent. It's about being present, aware, and in control of your emotion. In today's fast-paced world, many people associate calmness with passivity or weakness. There's a widespread belief that if you're not loud, aggressive, or visibly emotional, you're not taking things seriously. However, this perception is deeply flawed. Calmness is not the absence of feeling or intensity. It is the ability to manage those feelings constructively. A calm person isn't someone who lacks emotion. It is someone who has mastered the art of regulating those emotions under pressure. True calmness requires inner strength. When you are calm in the face of adversity, it doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've developed the mental discipline to not let the situation control you. That kind of composure comes from practice, self-awareness, and emotional intelligence. It takes far more courage and strength to remain calm than it does to lash out or panic when things go wrong. Anyone can react in anger or fear, but it takes true power to pause, breathe, and choose your response. Think about people you admire. Leaders, mentors, role models. Chances are they're people who maintain their composure in difficult situations. Calmness inspires trust. It signals that someone is grounded, reliable, and capable of handling pressure. In the workplace, during crises, or even in personal relationships, calm individuals are often looked to for guidance and decision-making. Their emotional steadiness becomes a stabilizing force for others. Moreover, calmness enhances your thinking. When you are emotionally reactive, your brain operates from a place of survival, your fight or flight mode. In that state, judgment is clouded and rational thinking diminishes. Calmness, on the other hand, activates your ability to think logically and creatively. It gives you space to evaluate your options, to consider consequences, and to act with clarity. That's a superpower, especially in moments of high stakes. Calmness also brings a sense of control over yourself. While you may not always control the external world, traffic jams, difficult people, unexpected changes, you can always control how you respond. And the ability to stay composed when everything else feels chaotic gives you a tremendous psychological advantage. It helps you preserve energy, protect your mental health, and stay on your path without being constantly thrown off course by every disturbance. Unfortunately, many people still believe that showing intensity means showing strength. They think yelling is power, but real power doesn't need to shout. Calmness is quiet strength. It is self-command. When you speak calmly but firmly, people listen more attentively. Your words carry more weight because they're not buried in drama or emotion. They are deliberate, measured, and intentional. That kind of communication earns respect and builds influence. Calmness also diffuses conflict. In tense situations, when one person remains calm, it can shift the entire dynamic. Anger often feeds anger, but calmness introduces a new energy. It signals maturity and invites reflection rather than escalation. This is especially important in leadership and teamwork. Being the calm presence in the room gives you the power to de-escalate and direct the energy of the group toward a more constructive outcome. To cultivate this kind of calmness, one must shift their mindset. You must stop seeing calmness as doing nothing or being indifferent and start recognizing it as deliberate restraint, intentional focus, and quiet mastery. Just like building physical strength requires training, building mental strength through calmness requires daily practice. The more you choose calm responses, the more natural they become. Over time, your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. The human mind is one of the most powerful tools we possess, yet many people go through life without ever learning how to train or strengthen it. Just like the body responds to physical training with increased endurance and strength, the mind also responds to intentional practice and discipline. Calmness, focus, patience, resilience, these aren't traits you're simply born with. They are skills that can be developed through consistent effort, much like lifting weights or running a mile. Training the mind begins with awareness. You must first become conscious of your thoughts, your triggers, and your automatic reactions. Most of us operate on autopilot, reacting emotionally to situations without thinking. But the more you practice mindfulness, observing your thoughts without judgment, the more control you gain over them. It's like watching the waves of the ocean without being pulled under. This awareness is the first stage of mental training, and it's a foundation for building calmness. Once you are aware of your patterns, the next step is to replace unhelpful reactions with intentional responses. For example, when someone criticizes you, your natural reaction might be to become defensive or angry. But a trained mind learns to pause, evaluate the comment, and choose a constructive response. This is not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. Like any skill, it requires repetition, but every time you choose calmness over reactivity, you strengthen your mental muscle. Patience is one of the most effective practices for training the mind. Even just 10 minutes a day of sitting quietly, focusing on your breath, and observing your thoughts can create profound changes over time. Scientific studies have shown that regular meditation can rewire the brain, reducing stress, enhancing emotional regulation, and improving focus. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. The more you practice, the stronger the neural pathways associated with calmness become. Another powerful tool in mental training is visualization. Athletes do it all the time. They visualize themselves succeeding before they ever step onto the field. Similarly, you can train your mind to stay calm by repeatedly visualizing how you want to respond in stressful situations. If you know public speaking makes you anxious, imagine yourself stepping on stage with confidence. This mental rehearsal helps program your subconscious mind, making calmness more natural when the real moment arrives. Affirmations and positive self-talk also play a vital role in mental conditioning. What you say to yourself daily becomes your inner narrative. If you constantly tell yourself that you're anxious, weak, or overwhelmed, your mind will reflect that belief. But if you affirm your ability to stay grounded, saying things like, "I remain calm under pressure," or "I choose peace in all situations," you start to shift your mindset. Over time, those words become part of how you operate. Just like training your body requires rest and recovery, so does training your mind. Sleep, breaks, time in nature, and unplugging from digital noise all help restore mental clarity. You cannot build mental strength if your brain is constantly overstimulated and exhausted. A calm mind is a well-rested mind. Therefore, part of training your mind is knowing when to pause, when to reflect, and when to give yourself grace. Lastly, training your mind also means embracing discomfort. Growth happens outside of your comfort zone. Every time you face a stressful situation and choose to remain calm, you are building mental strength. It's like lifting a heavier weight than you did last week. At first, it feels uncomfortable, even painful, but with each effort, you grow stronger. Over time, what once shook you becomes manageable, and what once triggered panic becomes just another moment you are prepared to handle. Many people go through life believing that peace can only be found when everything around them is perfect, when the workload lightens, when relationships are harmonious, when financial stress disappears. But the truth is, if you wait for the world to calm down before you find your peace, you'll be waiting forever. Life is unpredictable and external conditions are always changing. Real peace begins inside you. It's not something you stumble upon, it's something you consciously create and protect. This internal peace is a choice. It's a mental state that you can cultivate regardless of your surroundings. People who live in chaotic environments, who have faced loss, illness, or hardship, have still managed to find an inner stillness that carries them through. That stillness doesn't come from having a perfect life. It comes from having a stable mind and a centered spirit. It's the ability to remain steady when everything else is shifting. Many individuals fall into the trap of thinking, if I just fix this one problem, then I'll be happy. But the moment one problem is solved, another appears. There is always something to worry about. Health, work, relationships, responsibilities. That's the nature of life. Chasing peace through external fixes is like chasing the horizon. The faster you run, the farther it seems. But when you turn inward and begin to develop inner stability, peace becomes accessible no matter the circumstances. This is why practices such as meditation, journaling, and quiet reflection are so powerful. They aren't escapism. They are the gateways to reconnecting with yourself. They teach you to be at home in your own mind. When you can sit in silence and still feel whole, that's when you know peace is becoming a part of you. And once peace lives within you, it becomes harder for the outside world to disturb it. Internal peace is also about acceptance, not passive resignation, but the ability to accept what you cannot control while actively working with what you can. It's the refusal to let every small inconvenience or frustration rob you of your well-being. A traffic jam doesn't ruin your day if you carry peace inside you. A rude comment doesn't shake your confidence when you're anchored in self-awareness. Peace becomes your shield, not because life is easy, but because you've decided to respond differently. One of the biggest misunderstandings is thinking that peace looks like quiet surroundings. But true peace can exist in the middle of noise, pressure, even chaos. Think of a calm lake surrounded by stormy skies. The surface may ripple, but the depth remains undisturbed. That's what internal peace feels like. It allows you to remain centered while navigating complex emotions, stressful environments, and unexpected challenges. Peace is also deeply tied to perspective. When your mind is constantly focused on what's missing or what could go wrong, peace becomes elusive. But when you practice gratitude, presence, and trust, peace grows. It's a shift from focusing on lack to appreciating what's already here. It's recognizing that even in a storm, there is beauty to be found if you choose to see it. Your mindset can either disturb your peace or protect it. Ultimately, finding peace within is about building a relationship with yourself. It means learning to sit with your thoughts without judgment, understanding your emotional triggers, and choosing calmness as a deliberate act. External situations will rise and fall, this is certain. But the one thing you can always influence is how you meet those moments. When peace is cultivated inside, it radiates outward, allowing you to face life with confidence, stability, and quiet strength. In the noise of everyday life, stillness has become rare, and yet it is one of the most powerful sources of mental clarity available to us. When you are constantly surrounded by distractions, notifications, and conversations, your mind becomes scattered. It jumps from one thought to the next, never fully settling, never fully present. In that state, decisions are rushed, emotions dominate logic, and confusion takes root. Its stillness is not just about physical silence. It's about creating space within your mind so you can see your thoughts clearly and choose your actions wisely. When we slow down and allow ourselves to be still, even for a few moments, we begin to notice what's really going on inside us. What emotions are rising? What thoughts are repeating? What stories are we telling ourselves? Without stillness, these internal signals get buried under busyness. But in stillness, we uncover the truth beneath the noise. We begin to distinguish between what matters and what doesn't, between what's urgent and what's important. This insight is what gives us clarity. Clarity is not the absence of problems, it's the ability to see through them. In moments of stress or uncertainty, the natural instinct is to act quickly, to fix things immediately. But often, clarity requires waiting, observing, and reflecting before jumping into action. Stillness teaches us to resist the urge to react and instead sit with our situation long enough to understand it. With that understanding, we gain perspective, and with perspective, we find better solutions. In today's culture, stillness is sometimes seen as laziness or inactivity. People feel guilty for pausing, as if constant motion is a sign of worthiness. But the most intelligent, visionary people, leaders, artists, scientists, often emphasize the importance of solitude and quiet time. Why? Because their greatest insights come not when they're racing to keep up, but when they step back and allow space for deep thinking. Clarity doesn't come from noise, it comes from quiet contemplation. Stillness also helps us reconnect with our intuition. Each of us has an inner voice that knows what's best for us, but it often gets drowned out by external influences, opinions, expectations, fears. When we slow down and silence the mental chatter, we give that voice a chance to speak. We start to hear the whispers of our own wisdom, the gut feelings that guide us toward alignment. Clarity begins to emerge, not as something we figure out, but as something we remember. Furthermore, stillness allows us to observe our lives from a higher vantage point. It's like rising above a forest to see the landscape clearly. In the midst of chaos, you only see what's directly in front of you. But when you are still, you rise above the noise and begin to see patterns, connections, and possibilities you couldn't see before. What once felt confusing or overwhelming becomes manageable when seen from a place of mental calm. Stillness also protects us from making impulsive decisions. How many times have we said something we regret or made a choice we later wish we hadn't, simply because we didn't pause? When your mind is cluttered, your actions often reflect that clutter. But when you practice stillness, even for a minute or two, you create a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies the power to choose wisely, to think clearly, and to act with intention rather than emotion. And ultimately, stillness is not about doing nothing, it's about doing the most important thing: listening to yourself. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more, stillness is a quiet rebellion that reminds us we already have the answers we seek. Clarity is born in the spaces we create between thoughts, tasks, and emotions. It is not a product of speed, but of presence. And it is stillness that invites that presence into our lives. The difference between reacting and responding might seem subtle on the surface, but it represents a profound shift in personal power and emotional intelligence. Reacting is automatic. It is the mind's knee-jerk response to stimuli, especially when we feel threatened, insulted, or overwhelmed. These reactions are fast, unfiltered, and often charged with emotion. They arise from our survival instincts, designed to protect us in moments of danger. But in modern life, most of our challenges aren't physical threats. They are emotional or social in nature, requiring thoughtfulness, not speed. Responding, on the other hand, is a conscious choice. It involves pausing, thinking, and then choosing the most constructive path forward. When we respond rather than react, we demonstrate control over our minds instead of allowing our emotions to take the lead. A response comes from awareness, not impulse. It doesn't ignore emotions, but it does filter them through reason, patience, and a sense of long-term perspective. In essence, responding is what turns a chaotic moment into a chance for growth and clarity. In emotionally charged situations, it is easy to fall into reaction mode. Someone insults you and you immediately fire back. You receive bad news and panic sets in. These reactions are understandable but rarely helpful. Often they escalate conflict, cloud judgment, and create regret. A harsh word spoken in anger might damage a relationship permanently. A decision made in fear could lead to unnecessary consequences. Responding gives us time to consider the impact of our actions and choose a better way forward. One of the key practices in learning to respond is building the habit of the pause. It can be as simple as taking a deep breath before speaking or counting to 5 before replying to an email. This pause acts as a buffer between stimulus and action. It's in this space that wisdom lives. The more we practice creating that pause, the more control we have over our responses. Over time, we stop being controlled by our emotions and start guiding them with intention. The difference between reaction and response is also the difference between chaos and peace. Reacting often adds fuel to an already volatile situation. It multiplies the drama. But responding has the power to diffuse tension. Imagine a disagreement where one person is angry and shouting and the other remains calm and composed. That calm presence can shift the entire dynamic. It creates a sense of safety, invites resolution, and prevents things from spiraling out of control. Responding is not passive, it's powerful. Training yourself to respond instead of react takes time and awareness. It involves becoming more mindful of your emotional patterns. What are your triggers? What types of situations cause you to lose control? Once you identify these, you can begin to prepare yourself. You can rehearse different ways of responding. You can reflect afterward on what went well or what you could have done differently. Each experience becomes a lesson in mastering your mind rather than being mastered by it. This practice also builds emotional resilience. When you respond instead of react, you protect your energy. You begin to realize that not everything requires your attention or engagement. You learn to let go of petty conflicts, to avoid unnecessary arguments, and to focus your energy where it actually matters. Responding helps you maintain inner stability, even when the world around you feels unstable. You no longer absorb the chaos. You become the calm in the storm. Ultimately, the ability to respond rather than react is a sign of maturity. It is the hallmark of someone who has taken responsibility for their inner world. You are no longer a prisoner of your emotions or your past conditioning. You become intentional, thoughtful, and grounded. In that space, you gain not only greater clarity and peace, but also the respect of others. People trust those who remain composed under pressure, and that trust is earned one calm response at a time. In the quest for inner calm, many people search for complex solutions, new routines, external support, or drastic lifestyle changes. Yet, two of the most powerful tools for cultivating peace are already within you: your breath and your awareness. Breathing and mindfulness are often underestimated because of their simplicity, but their power lies in that very simplicity. When practiced intentionally, they become anchors in the storm, accessible, reliable, and transformative. They allow you to find stability even when everything else feels uncertain. Breathing is the body's most basic function, but it's also deeply connected to the mind. When we're anxious or angry, our breath becomes shallow and fast. When we're calm, our breathing slows. The relationship is bidirectional. How we feel affects how we breathe, and how we breathe affects how we feel. By consciously slowing and deepening the breath, we send signals to the brain that we are safe. This activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and digest mode, and helps reduce the grip of stress, anxiety, and panic. Controlled breathing is a doorway to self-regulation. In tense situations, a few deep, conscious breaths can create a buffer between the stimulus and your response. It helps lower your heart rate, ease muscle tension, and clear mental fog. One popular technique, known as box breathing, inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and pausing for 4, has been used by athletes, soldiers, and meditators alike to remain composed under pressure. These small breathing practices, when done consistently, build emotional resilience over time. Mindfulness is the companion practice to conscious breathing. While breathing helps calm the body, mindfulness helps clarify the mind. At its core, mindfulness means paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It is the art of observing your thoughts, feelings, and sensations without getting swept away by them. Rather than reacting to everything that passes through your mind, you become an observer. This shift gives you the power to choose your response rather than being controlled by impulse or emotion. Mindfulness doesn't require a special setting or long hours of meditation. It can be woven into your daily life, in how you eat, walk, listen, or even wash the dishes. When you focus on what you're doing right now without drifting into the past or worrying about the future, you anchor yourself in the present. And the present moment is where calmness lives. Stress and anxiety often come from ruminating on what has already happened or fearing what has. Mindfulness brings you back to what is real right now. Both breathing and mindfulness train the brain over time. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and form new connections, means that consistent practice can literally rewire your mental patterns. With daily use, these tools help reduce reactivity, increase focus, and boost your capacity to remain calm during emotional or chaotic moments. This isn't just philosophy, it's backed by science. MRI scans have shown that mindfulness practices can shrink the amygdala, the brain's fear center, and strengthen the prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. One of the most beautiful aspects of breathing and mindfulness is that they are available to you at all times. You don't need special equipment, a quiet room, or anyone else's permission. They are always within reach, waiting to be used. In a stressful meeting, during an argument, while stuck in traffic, or lying awake at night, you can return to your breath, ground your attention in the present, and create a pocket of calmness inside you. Over time, this habit becomes second nature. Ultimately, these practices remind you that you have more control over your inner world than you think. While you cannot always control what happens around you, you can choose how you experience it. Breathing and mindfulness are tools that turn that choice into a reality. They don't remove life's challenges, but they change how you meet them. In moments of stillness, in the space between inhale and exhale, you rediscover your strength, not through force, but through calm awareness and presence. Calmness is often mistaken for passivity or weakness, but in truth, it is a deep and powerful form of strength. A calm person is not someone who avoids stress or hides from difficulty. They are someone who has developed the inner capacity to remain steady in the face of challenges. This steadiness becomes a foundation upon which true confidence is built. Confidence that arises from calmness is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, grounded, and enduring. It does not need external validation because it comes from within. When you cultivate calmness, you develop the ability to think clearly and make decisions with intention rather than impulse. This clarity naturally increases your sense of self-assurance. You are no longer reacting emotionally to every circumstance, which means you avoid unnecessary drama and regret. Instead, you handle situations thoughtfully and with composure. Over time, people begin to see you as someone who can be trusted, not just for your skills, but for your presence. That sense of internal stability becomes your strength, and with it comes real confidence. This kind of confidence is especially powerful because it's not tied to perfection or control over external events. You no longer need everything to go your way in order to feel secure. Instead, you trust in your ability to remain calm and adaptable no matter what unfolds. That trust in yourself becomes your power. It allows you to enter difficult conversations, face setbacks, and lead others, all without collapsing under pressure. Calmness makes you resilient, and resilience is the bedrock of true self-confidence. Calm individuals naturally become influential, not by force, but by presence. In a room full of noise, the calm voice is the one people lean toward. In a tense discussion, the calm person becomes the anchor. This influence is not about controlling others, but about inspiring stability and clarity. People are drawn to those who embody balance, especially in moments of stress or uncertainty. A calm leader inspires trust. A calm friend offers reassurance. A calm presence changes the tone of the environment simply by showing up. This influence is especially visible in leadership. Whether you are leading a team, a family, a classroom, or even yourself, calmness allows others to feel safe around you. When people feel safe, they open up, they cooperate, and they think more creatively. A calm leader sets the emotional tone for the entire group. If the leader is reactive, anxious, or aggressive, that energy spreads. But if the leader remains composed and centered, others begin to mirror that steadiness. Calmness is contagious, and it elevates the people around you. Furthermore, calmness helps you maintain a broader perspective. When you're not constantly caught up in emotional highs and lows, you're able to step back and see the big picture. This enhances your decision-making, strengthens your communication, and helps you avoid unnecessary conflict. You don't get lost in small irritations or ego battles. Instead, you move with purpose. People notice that kind of poise, and it gives weight to your words. When you speak from a place of calm, people are more likely to listen. Even in moments of failure or adversity, calmness gives you the ability to recover gracefully. You don't panic or shut down. You assess, adjust, and move forward. That ability to face setbacks without losing your composure is a rare quality, and it earns deep respect. In fact, some of the most influential individuals are those who remain steady in moments when others are falling apart. Their calmness under pressure becomes a symbol of strength, and that strength becomes their influence. Ultimately, calmness becomes your silent authority. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone or dominate every conversation. You simply show up, grounded and present. That energy speaks louder than words. It communicates that you trust yourself, that you are prepared to handle whatever comes, and that you don't need chaos to feel important. From that place of calm, confidence grows, not from ego, but from peace. And in that peace, your influence naturally expands, touching lives through presence rather than persuasion. In a world that often feels chaotic, demanding, and unpredictable, calmness is no longer just a virtue, it's a necessity. It is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It is about developing the inner strength to meet every situation, good or bad, with clarity, patience, and resilience. When you train your mind to remain calm, you begin to respond with wisdom instead of reacting out of fear. You begin to lead your life with purpose, not panic. Let us remember, calmness is a skill. It's not inherited. It's cultivated through breath, through mindfulness, through choosing to respond rather than react, and by understanding that stillness leads to clarity. The more we practice, the stronger that calm becomes. And with it, we gain something rare: confidence without arrogance, influence without force, and peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. So I encourage you, train your mind like you would train your body. Practice calm in small moments so it will be ready in the big ones. Let your calm be your power, your confidence, and your compass in every situation. The world needs more steady minds, more grounded hearts, more peaceful voices. Be one of them. Thank you.